Whenever there's a new Line 6 Helix HX Stomp firmware release, I try to do a concise series of videos that kind of explain all of the new features. Some of them are very simple and some of them are much more in depth, but I can't believe I missed this one. No, not that I missed it. I knew it was there, but I didn't realize I hadn't actually done a video about it. And I really hadn't explored this new addition to the 3.70 firmware. And what am I talking about? I am discussing today the new to 3.70 non-linear reverb. So a lot of times when we get all these new reverbs, and we've received a fair number of them over the past few firmwares, we can tend to just think, oh great, another reverb. Am I actually going to use this? I've already got all the reverbs I want. But this non-linear reverb, when we understand what it's doing, can actually be quite a great tool to add to our toolbox. So today we're going to dive right in, take a look at what it's all about, discuss what it can do, and I hope you find some inspiration from using it. So let's head over to HX Edit. All right, so first things first, we're going to come over to the release notes for 3.70, not because I really want to go through much here as far as some of the parameters we have on the nonlinear reverb. A lot of them are going to be very typical: decay, pre-delay. The shape is going to be the interesting thing and why we're looking here, because we have a nice little graphical representation of how this reverb is behaving. So we'll just talk about the shape here and then we'll head over to HX Edit and take a look and listen to how this actually sounds. So the shape is going to be an interesting control. Once we've set our decay, which can be between 1 millisecond and 2 seconds, and an interesting tip here, it says when set to note values, playing a note or chord 4 beats or 2 beats before a song transition can cause the reverb to stop right on the downbeat. So it's kind of cool because this reverb is going to be all about how the reverb decay enters and exits, shall we say. So we see here that we have the linear setting, which means the reverb is going to just basically enter quite low and then ramp up in a very linear fashion before it ends up here at the top. The logarithmic setting is going to be different in that it's going to enter much slower and then as it approaches the end, ramp up. So you're going to have more space at the beginning compared to linear, and then you'll have kind of the same output of decay at the end. Inverse log is going to be the inverse of the logarithmic, right? Where we're going to basically start off low, but it's going to ramp in really quickly and then towards the end move much slower. The Gaussian is going to come in very slow, peak out in the middle, and then drop back off towards the end, as you can see in the picture. Inverse Gauss is going to come in full on, dip down at the sort of middle point of the decay, and then ramp back up to exit. Triangle is going to be similar to Gaussian, except just sharper. It's going to rise in a very linear fashion like the linear and drop back down in a linear fashion. Inverse triangle is going to be the opposite. It's going to come in full. The decay is going to come in full, drop down around that center point, and then ramp back up in a linear fashion to go out. And full is just going to be all in right at the top and staying that way until at the end. So I hope that that little look in the release notes helps you to at least be able to visualize how that decay is going to behave, so that when we're listening to it now over on the Helix, we'll have a better understanding of what those terms mean. All right, so here we are over in HX Edit. I have this little preset that I call JS US Deluxe. This is going to be available on my website for free if you want to grab it, not with these reverbs, but just as I had dialed this in. So if I play you a little bit of this without any reverb at all. Sounds really nice with a little bit of delay on it as well. Might mix that delay in a little bit later. Now, you notice that I actually have the bloom reverb here. And the reason is I find the nonlinear reverb is similar concept to the bloom, but with a lot different tweakability. So the dynamic bloom reverb, which we also received in 3.70, and I have a video dedicated to that, kind of gives us this ability to hit our note or chord and have that reverb not just jump all over the note or chord right away, but just kind of bloom in. We can set it to short, medium, or kind of here it takes longer to kind of bloom in. Now, the only reason I brought that in is just because the nonlinear reverb is kind of working in a similar fashion, I guess we could say. in that the reverb is not necessarily going to be in there right away, especially when set to linear here. So here's what we'll do. We're set to decay of 1 second. Pre-delay is on 0. I'm not really going to talk about the decay, pre-delay, low cut, high cut, spread, and trails. We've talked about that with other reverbs. We're going to just kind of focus on what is new to this. We have the decay at 1 second, pre-delay at 0 milliseconds for now. We'll experiment with that a little bit later. But linear, let's hear what this does. I have my mix set at 50% just so there's going to be a fair amount of reverb coming into this. I'm going to bring this rate and mod down right now. So as the picture showed, we hear that reverb decay start off low and just ramp up, kind of exit at its highest point in that linear fashion. So if we come over here to shape, move it to logarithmic, we see, just like the picture showed us that we looked at in the release notes, it starts off low, stays lower for longer than the linear, and then ramps up towards the end. Whereas the linear is just all over it right away. Inverse log, gonna ramp in a little bit faster. Or that takes a little longer to get in. This gets in and ramps up a little quicker. Gauss or Gaussian is going to come in slower, peak in the middle, and then fade off at the end. As we can hear there. Let's even do this. Let's bring the decay up higher. You can kind of hear the motion of it a little better that way. Inverse Gauss is going to come in hard, dip down, and then exit kind of high again. Kind of hear it dip down in the middle. Right around that 1 second point. Then we're going to move on to triangle, which is going to be kind of like Gauss, but just more linear, straight up and straight back down. And then inverse triangle, it's going to start off high, dip down to that center point, and exit high. So a more linear version of the Gaussian. And then we have full, which is going to be straight on all the way through. Comes in quick and just stays full on as we go through. Very cool. So the late dry effect is actually a little subtle, I find. It says in the release notes, adds a bit of the original signal as the very last tap, most audible when playing simple lines with Gaussian and triangle shape. So if we come over to the triangle shape, let's bring that late dry all the way up. So it is going to be a subtle effect. You can mess around with that and see if it's doing something for you that you like. The other really interesting thing is here, let's just maybe come into something like the Gaussian. We can add some delay into that before it so that the delayed echoes are also going to be affected, and it'll give a lot of nice depth to this. But where the real magic lies in this, I find, is in the modulation we can put on this. Let's just go to extremes like I like to do and hear what the mod and the rate at 10 do. What can be very cool here is taking your mix to 100%. Get some really cool atmospheric effects. Now that's obviously maybe a lot. But we can bring that modulation in, cut the rate back. And you can see we can utilize this for some very beautiful atmospheric effects. I mean, we could also blend this in at a much lower rate. Now messing around with the shape is going to change things up. You'll see there, it really changes things up because it's going to take longer for that decay to kind of ramp in. Let's just bring our mix back up quite a bit there. So I think you can see by messing around with this shape feature, it's going to give us a lot of really cool possibilities. The other thing we can do is have this pre-delay set so that it doesn't do anything for, let's say in this case, 500 milliseconds. Kind of hear your dry signal a little bit more there before the reverb even does anything. If you don't really want that reverb encompassing your tone right away and you want to hear a little more clarity in what you're playing coming through rather than that atmospheric type of a thing. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope that that was explained well and that helps you to kind of understand more about what this really cool new addition to the Helix Reverb lineup does, and hopefully it's something you can add to your own presets, and I think it's going to be a really cool reverb to get inspired to try new musical ideas with. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So thanks so much for tuning in. Please like the video, share it with anybody you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. Also, please subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. Today, I'm going to leave you with the demo video for my new to firmware 3.70 Line 6 Marketplace Brit 2203 Ultimate preset. This is one of my favorite new amp models we received in the new update, and I hope you enjoy it too. The link to this preset is in the description below. I really hope you enjoy the music on the way out, and thanks again for sharing your time with me. Ciao for now.